What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp. Welcome to Fightful. It is October 4th, 2023. Sure hope my audio is working, man. We went through it with last week's Q&A show, if you guys are wondering where that was. But here we are. Jimmy Van, not here today, so I am answering your super chats, your humper chats. This is the What Do You Guys Want to Talk About podcast. So go ahead and get them in here at youtube.com/Fightful and humperchats.com. If you like the format of this show, you're in luck. FightfulSelect.com has a Q&A with me every single week, just $5 a month. And we now offer annual memberships for $54 a year. In addition to that, every other week, the Grapsity team of Righteous Reg and Phil do a Q&A over there as well. So plenty of content there, in addition to all your exclusive news, all that good stuff. But if you do want your question or statement read on the air, go ahead, get those super chats in, get those humper chats in. Because like, if we end up with like 4 super chats, it's going to be a 10-minute show. And we'll be heading over to FightfulSelect.com. The list goes on. But we want to know what you guys want to talk about. Kim Gray kicks us off. She says, how much longer do we have Cena on this run? So this is a hunch, but a hunch combined with some things in which I have been told along the way. So they didn't think they were going to get John Cena. They didn't think they were going to have him back for a while, like after Money in the Bank or anything like that. But the strikes happened, and as a result, John Cena's schedule cleared up significantly. So as a result of that, he became available. WWE started to use him. Thus far, they are planning to have him through October. However, from what I understand, they are optimistic at the hope that, well, you know what? If this continues to go on and on, we'll get to keep him for a little bit longer. I don't necessarily know about a specific date. I do know this. If the strike were to end tomorrow, WWE is confident that John Cena would see through the dates that he has advertised. They have no real concern about him just up and leaving. And I see people asking questions in the chat. Get in your super chats here at youtube.com/Fightful or humperchats.com. That's how you get your question or statement read on this show. As for Cena, they believe him to be a man of his word. They believe that if he says he's going to make these dates, that he will make those dates. They have no real concerns about that. Now, that could be unfounded, but I can tell you that's at least WWE's method of it. Soran says, any news that if Marty Scurll would ever sign for AEW or WWE? Nope. They got no interest in him. He's been backstage at AEW a couple times over the last several years, but I haven't heard of any interest from either company, especially with, what led to him being out of wrestling. Tony P says, what major AEW stars do you feel will be this year's tribute to Wrestle Kingdom? I feel Bryan will be in a rematch with Okada or Zack Sabre Jr. if he goes, and Claudio could be asked as well. I think they'll ask for Edge too. Listen, if you get Edge and Bryan Danielson, you probably shouldn't ask for any more favors from AEW. You know what I mean? If they are willing to forego those two guys, two of their biggest draws, for even a week, I don't think that we are going to see a whole lot more. Maybe Kenny, just because Kenny likes to do that. But I would imagine Edge and Bryan Danielson are possible. Edge, I think, is one because he's mentioning how much he wants to do it. I think that that's a possibility. Just Mass says, man, some of Twitter is so salty about Edge to AEW. Like, I look at that stuff, and oftentimes you'll see me tweet, what are we pretending to be mad about today? Because first off, I don't believe in my heart of hearts that you can sincerely be upset or mad over something like this. Upset possibly if like you only watch WWE and that's your favorite wrestler ever, yada, yada. But really mad over it, there's no way any of you guys are really mad about it. I think it is the most bitchless behavior that I have ever seen in my life. People pretending to be upset over that. There is Demon Diva, LOL Twitter. Glad to see that her YouTube is working a lot better than other devices that she owns. Can we see a Roman appearance on NXT? No, I don't think we're going to see that because they already loaded it up with Cena, Cody, Asuka, Becky. I don't think that Roman is going to be appearing on NXT, but in the future, if they've really got to pull a rabbit out of the hat, they will make that call. Mike the Jeweler says, let's get ready to hump. What's up, SRS? Hope all is well. Question for you. Do you think AEW acts such as Miro or Malachi would go back to the Fed after the Cody and Jade treatment? Also, what's up with Raw this week? The timing was off through the whole show. Well, they did have to can some things. They did have to nix some things. They had to change the Becky Lynch-Tegan Nox match. That was going to have a lot different of a timeline on it. They had to nix the Jey Uso and Damian Priest match. Damian Priest is going to be all right from what I understand. I mean, obviously, he's making dates. He's advertised for Saturday. So they had to move some things around. That's why. As far as Malachi, Tony Khan claims that he's under contract well into 2027. Now, I don't know if that means with option years or what, but also Miro just signed a new deal, I want to say last year, and he's being paid very well. Very, very well. So it depends on where they are towards the end of those deals. KE775 says, do you think there's anything to the CM Punk stuff, or is it the internet using their imagination? Do you think it would be a good idea? I think it's a good idea in theory. If maybe he learned from what we just saw, and as long as people there are okay with it, and as long as this doesn't become a thing that affects their locker room in a negative fashion, then it would be a good idea. But that is a theory. That's all that is based on what we've seen. I thought that last week's reference to CM Punk was something that was worth perking your ears up at. I thought this week's was a reach. I've seen a million promos where people called other people puppets. SXC Glenn says, thanks for bringing awareness and being open about having ADHD. Yeah, I don't like to talk about it too much on these podcasts, but it is a benefit and a detriment. It has certainly helped me throughout my career to be able to multitask, but there are days where I just can't function, man. Like I cannot keep on task at all. And sometimes you got to take a day. Does AEW have any debuts over the next 2 weeks? Not that I've heard of. Do you think TK tries to get Mercedes on next week's Dynamite to counter NXT, or any other ideas of what he might do to counter? Well, I mean, it's going to be Title Tuesday, so they're going to throw a lot of stuff at the wall, and they're going to try to make things happen. I think that they're going to do what they can to give a spirited piece of competition to AEW, and I love what NXT is doing. I love what they're doing. I love the healthy competition. Do it. One up each other for the sake of us. Let's go. I don't think we'll see Mercedes. She was in a boot as of a couple weeks ago, and I know that they didn't want to highlight her like that. Any word on how long Adam Copeland is signed for? No, I've only heard theories. I've been asking, though. I am going to find out. Who do you think takes the NXT title from Becky? I think I have it down to 4. Heel Roxanne, heel Valkyria, Tiffany, or Blair Davenport. I think Tiffany will eventually... Well, I think that also somebody else beating Becky for it gives Tiffany something to aim for when she makes it to the main roster as well. So... as I look at that, I go, okay, well, that's a good story to tell on a grander stage. So I could see somebody like Blair Davenport or Roxanne doing it. That way, somebody has Becky's number in the future when they come up to the main roster, and Becky's got somebody else's number for when they come up to the main roster. I think that's the smoothest way to put it. So I would say maybe a heel Roxanne or Blair Davenport. I think they've got other plans for Valkyria right now. Jonathan Corona, do you think we will see Punk back with WWE? Do you think we'll see him at Survivor Series? And when stars sign a multi-year agreement with WWE or AEW, how many years is that? 5, 10, or how many years? Generally, it is a 5-year deal with WWE. AEW has done 3 to 5s. However, they've also done 1 year. So when we say multi-year, all it means is more than 1 year. It can vary anywhere from 2 on up. Undertaker signed a 15-year deal. If we see CM Punk back, Jonathan, I think it will be at Survivor Series. I don't think there's any better place to bring him back than Chicago. I think that's the place. As far as do we see it, I think it's 50-50. Is TK the week-to-week booker for ROH, or has he passed that power over to someone else? I know he has overall power, but is he booking it weekly? I want to be careful of what I say here because I don't want it to be misrepresented. I know that Chris Hero has been given more responsibilities associated with the ROH brand, but I don't know if he's necessarily, booking the whole thing. Also, I believe Stokely contributes ideas as well. I don't think that a lot of people think of that job as a shoot. It's not, but he does contribute ideas from what I understand. Sauron says, best $5 ever spent on Fightful Select. Thank you so much. Sincerely, thank you guys. Myself, Brandon Thurston, I know WrestleTix has mentioned it too. We know this is an age of aggregation and easy to find Twitter Cliffs Notes and stuff, but when you guys support original reporting, you really, really help us out. So thank you all so much for that. Matt Hennessy. Matt, thank you so much. I see you dropping these big super chats. Thank you so much, man. Says, do you think Vince is slowly starting to be phased out by Endeavor the last 2 weeks of shows? It felt like Triple H shows with the pushes of Triple H guys and girls like Knox, Reed, Ciampa, and now Gargano. Matt, I said this specific thing on the Monday show. So I'll give you guys a little bit of inside baseball. This is the type of thing you'll hear if you subscribe to Select on the Q&A shows. Back in February, the talent that was adamant to me that Vince was back in creative and set me down the trail. And a lot of people got upset when I reported that because they're like, oh, you're fear-mongering. No, we were accurately reporting is what we were doing. So I had one person that was adamant and other people that suspected it. So that person said to me about a week and a half ago, feels like Vince isn't as involved anymore. Feels like, not isn't anything like that. Feels like. So I also do feel like that based on the Ciampa push, based on the Intercontinental title headlining, based on the type of matches that have gotten time, the Tegan Knox stuff, Gargano being back, Bronson Reed picking up wins. It certainly does feel like that. Do I think that Vince is slowly starting to be phased out by Endeavor? I don't know about by Endeavor, but it certainly feels like he's taken a step back, so to speak. Tracy says, Sammy seemed hurt after Raw last week. Is he okay? I have not heard anything about an injury, but he has not wrestled since that Raw. So that's something I'm going to keep my eye on for you, Tracy. Should AEW just punt Tuesday since WWE is loading up Raw 2.0, cough, cough, NXT, plus with baseball playoffs and the start of hockey season? My thought is you never punt. Never, never, never punt. Instead, you say, no, this is why you need to watch this and, maybe follow the game on your phone. That's what I say. You never punt. You enjoy the competition. You rise to the competition. I love what WWE is doing. They are defending their territory is what they're doing. When will Cargill debut and first feud? Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me, and this isn't an official report, wouldn't surprise me if at Fastlane she was in the crowd and they say, she'll be on NXT this Tuesday. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. JB says, do you think 5 matches for Fastlane is a bit stingy? If it was a traditional pay-per-view model, I think people would see this as being shortchanged. No, because I think they'll probably add something else. They have been very happy with doing 6 or 7 matches. And they have removed things from shows that were moved things to the previous Raw or the following Raw or the following SmackDown, etc., that you would originally think would be on those shows. But they also have to put big matches on TV. So I understand that a lot of people are like, 6 matches, what the heck? Man, I like that. I like not having 14, 15 matches, all due respect to AEW. I like having 6 or 7 on there. And then having Ciampa and Gunther headlining Raw and getting 25 minutes. That's that shit I like, man. I wouldn't feel... I almost went to this show. It's in Indianapolis. I wouldn't have felt shortchanged. Nicholas says, do you think NXT comes out the winner in viewership-wise? If so, what's your estimate for both shows? I'm thinking, and this is an estimate, it's a guess. AEW's on a different night. I would say maybe 650 and NXT maybe 700-ish, 750. And then you got baseball playoffs, brother. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Mahoney says, is there any chance CM Punk and AEW work together again, or is there too much bad blood? Would love to have seen a CM Punk Edge match in AEW. Thanks. Never say never. There is always a possibility. There is always a possibility. However, I don't think it's in the cards right now. JM says, is the NXT rights deal bundled with WWE Raw or not? It was added to it, but they can sell them separately or together any way that they want to do it. Chris says, to me, I'm just not a fan of Rhea's current run. As a fan of Rhea, to me, there's not a lot of top talent for her to feud with on Raw. And that's WWE's fault. They've got to significantly build people. And I think they've done that fairly well with Raquel. They're doing it well with Nia. And now they are sort of having this amalgamation of all of these feuds. I like it because Rhea has entrenched herself as the leader of Judgment Day. She's a top manager. She is a top champion. She is massively over. So, yeah. I think that it's going well. James says, hey, Sean, love Edge being signed with AEW. What I want to know is, what do you think about the personal or the differences with Punk and Edge from a personal standpoint? Okay, well, objectively, Edge's personality is going to cause you less friction backstage and controversy than CM Punk's. That was something that was constantly reiterated to me by talent and staff. From a drawing standpoint, I don't think that Edge is up there as much as Punk, but I don't think he's far off. Plus, he's willing to work all the time like Punk was. Punk also wanted to work all the time. Punk wanted to wrestle a lot. Punk was not part-timing it or anything like that. And I don't want it perpetuated like Punk wasn't trying to help people. Punk helped a lot of people there. It's just when he had issues with people, it became a big issue. I don't see that being a thing with Edge at all. Stu Grayson updates. He just disappeared from AEW. Well, he had been doing ROH stuff in the past, and then he's been taking a few more indie bookings of late. But he was doing the Dark Order righteous thing, but I'll look to find that out because I've been asking around. When do you think we see a new WB deal for AEW? They got plenty of time. They got like almost a full year on their deal. So I would expect, I think probably by the end of the year sounds right. Any news on the future booking of Yas members? Feel like they have no direction now, especially for a guy like Garcia. I've heard some ideas that have been thrown around for 2.0. Garcia, I'm sure, wants to wrestle more in a singles capacity. This man has not been given singles matches since like May. They need to get him in the ring, but I haven't heard of anything necessarily. But I know that he wants to wrestle more. Rock Hard says, if Deanna's deal's up at the end of the year, what percentage of you do you have her staying with Impact, joining WWE or AEW? If she joins WWE along with Jade and Kyrie, how big of a quick haul would that be? Okay, Joel, I know this sucks to hear me say. And it's going to seem like a cop-out, Joel. And I'm sorry for that. But I see it 33 Impact, 33 WWE, 33 AEW, and that one other. Actually, you know what? I'd put it 30, 30, 30, and then I'd put 10% that she just says, I ain't signing shit and I'll work everywhere. I think that AEW should want her. I think WWE should want her. And I think Impact should want to retain her. She has been an integral part of that. However, I also think that she could become like the primary women's draw on the independent circuit as well. And it would be a very, very big haul for WWE to pick up Deanna as well. 29 years old at the time of free agency, years of television experience. That is somebody you want on your team. You want Steve Maclin back too, by the way. You want him back. He's the guy you want in your locker room. The guy's brilliant. That is a very, very smart household, and one that has an awful lot of upside. Mr. CJ Lilly says, Hey, SRS, how are things? With another wild week with Adam, Jade, and NXT, was almost beating Dynamite without these main roster additions. Next week is a given. Can't wait for X to lose its mind when Alexa beats Jade clean. I know you'd love to see that, Mr. CJ Lilly. Fresh off of a baby, you want to see Alexa Bliss pin her. Absolutely. I know you do. So I think NXT probably tops next week. I think it probably wins next week. I really do. And when I think about that, I'm like, okay, they're already doing well. They're not coming far from NXT's Wednesday numbers with Becky. So with Cena and Cody, yeah. Jasmine, thank you so much, Jasmine. Can you elaborate on the comment you made about Monday about the women's division not knowing if they're a heel or a face? Yes, I can. So I can tell you exactly when I got this message. Hopefully nobody's checking my reflections to see who it was that messaged me about this. So it was, to put it in a nice way, the fall of 2021. What do you know about my future? Am I a heel? Am I a babyface? I just figure you know more than me. Ha ha. And that was somebody who did not necessarily have a great creative direction, and they weren't being told their creative direction. So there are several people that were like, what the hell happened? Like, what am I supposed to do? How do I get noticed? So I checked the internal roster and saw what they were aligned as, and at the time they were aligned as babyface. Matt Hennessy says, why do WWE and AEW fans have to be weird and tribalistic when talents like Edge and Jay jumping to the other company? Why can't they be happy for the talent rather than being weird? Both fan bases can be so toxic. Yeah, and I mean, you'll see people that are like, oh, well, this fan base, that fan base. Listen, there are assholes of every single fandom. Every single fandom and tons of people. Like, it is mind-boggling to me that people pretend to be this bothered by this stuff. And at this point, my Twitter conduct has significantly changed, and I'm just like, I'm not paying this any mind. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it is so lame. It is so lame. Like, could you imagine as a grown adult male going on a first date with a girl, and when she goes, oh, well, so how was your day? And you're at the table talking like you do on Twitter, saying like, yeah, well, these Mark AEW fans are doing it. And by the way, this wrestling writer I don't like, that girl is going to say, hey, hold on, I got to take this call real quick. And she will get smooth the fuck out of that restaurant. How long until TK pays Taylor Swift to sit in his audience? Buddy, just her sitting around has got to be an insane ask. Who do you think will be LWO's partner Saturday? I think either Carlito or Dragon Lee would make sense. Why do you think WWE hasn't used their Hall of Fame women and legends to help with the women's storyline? Well, they have. They did. They did with Lita. They did with Trish Stratus. They did with Beth Phoenix for a little bit. They have. It's just, I mean, I think they should use some more. I think they should use Victoria and Molly Holly and people like that. Rock Hard says, Will Ospreay posted that fake ESPN photo of him soon, of signing with WWE, and said soon. Obviously, he's trolling, but since you copped out on my last question, what percentage do you have him in WWE? 30? No. I think there's a pretty good chance he stays in New Japan. I think there's a decent chance that he goes to AEW on the PAC deal. But if WWE can get their finger out of their ass with the NXT Europe thing, I think there's a chance that he can sort of launch that. I think he can be an integral part of making that a thing. So as far as a percentage, I'm going to go like 20% probably. That one makes a lot more sense to me. 20%. Get your super chats and humper chats in. We're not going to speculate on personal stuff, Mike the Jeweler. I'm sorry. You can send another question, but he says, SRS, let's get these shoe projects going. Mike, I might have a very special project very, very soon that I'm getting ready for that I might have you on. Joshi says, is AEW working with both DDP, Tokyo Joshi Pro, and New Japan Stardom? Something completely new or something just completely rare? They're definitely working with DDT and Tokyo Joshi Pro. In fact, they have sent people to Tokyo Joshi Pro. The relationship with DDT is very, very good from what I understand. The New Japan Stardom thing, yep, they're working with them too. It is very rare, but also look at what New Japan's doing. They're working with MLW and CMLL. Meanwhile, AEW is working with some people that they don't necessarily get along with. I think AEW bridged an awful lot of gaps here. Specifically, Rocky Romero bridged a lot of gaps. Andy said, with Rock headlining Mania, who do you think dethrones Roman and when? Think Vince and Triple H see Cody as that guy in a top babyface? Well, they certainly see him as that guy in a top babyface because they had him in the main event of WrestleMania. He is a top merch seller. He is a huge ticket seller. He does some things that people have not done since John Cena, quite frankly. So, yes, they do. I think that Cody is eventually the guy. Unless he just goes ice cold. On the ratings, do they count on demand? I like both. In their like plus sevens, they do, but not immediately, unless it is that night you watch it. Any idea if Hook is now getting a sustained push? Thought he did well in the pay-per-view Sunday, given his experience. That's the main thing. They got to get him reps, and that isn't his fault. I'm sure he'd wrestle every week if they asked him to wrestle every week. I know that Taz is, wanting more for him because Taz is his biggest fan. But the last 2-3 weeks, we have seen him in action more. The Rampage Grand Slam match, the Collision match with RVD, the Wrestle Dream match, because we didn't see him for about 3 or 4 weeks before that. Every week or every month, they had been getting him about 3 to 4 matches. And then in like July, it just kind of tapered off. There was like a 2.5 month period where he barely worked. I don't know if he's set for a big push. I think he'll team with Orange Cassidy a little more. Do you think Mercedes will appear next week after Saraya versus Hikaru to build up a match for Full Gear? When do you think we'll see Moxley wrestle? I can't put a time on Moxley. If he had his say, I'm sure it'd be quickly. However, I can't predict that. I mean, I've had both concussions that were short term, and I've gotten over it within a week, and then I had a concussion that had me on my ass for over a year. So you just don't know. As far as Mercedes appearing next week, if you want to pull a rabbit out of the hat, sure. And I think that if you are AEW, you should do that. You should find a way to do that. Have like mask it somehow. Do something to put her on the show or promote her for the show. I think that would be good. Mike Rack says, do you think Adams' ankle injury is a work? Why keep the tag titles on MJF? Because it's the most over thing. And if he can come back in 3, 4, 5 months, okay, there's a story that can be played off of here. Like MJF could lose those tag titles and then feel like really depressed about it and really bummed about it. I don't think that Adams' ankle injury is a work. If it is, they worked a lot of people, which on this, I don't think people would be upset about. If it was like CM Punk getting fired, well, yeah, people would be upset about it, but I don't think it's a work. What do you think about people worrying about AEW being an exaggerated risk to Edge's neck? Seems unfair to me. Well, yeah, it is unfair because look at what he was doing before, man. Like, what? We're going to sit here and act like he was doing like completely safe stuff in WWE. He did a 20-minute Hell in a Cell match. He like went and did good God, he did a cage match against Kevin Owens at one point. He did the last man standing match, like a 35-minute match against Randy Orton. He did a 45-minute match against Randy Orton. We're going to sit here and say like, come on, man. Concern trolling. Thank you, Mr. Ed. Chris Rain says, have you heard of any creative for Britt Baker? Her match with Chris drew a good rating, but no sign of her since. Does Cole injury have anything to do with this? You could speculate that, but I haven't heard anything definitively. But it would make sense to me that because he's sidelined, they're like, hey, stay home a couple weeks, help him out a little bit. I can't say for certain that that's the case, but I mean, just from a this makes sense point, yeah. I haven't heard of anything creatively for her. I know there are some creative things for other people near the top of the division, but I think that a short absence would be all right for her too. Give people a little time to miss you, but I haven't heard of anything new. Marquise Film says they shouldn't rush Jade's run at all. Put her on NXT. Let Sean cook. Build her to be an unbeatable and longest NXT champion. Then bring her up. Take your time, please. Yes, I think Jade Cargill has incredible upside. Incredible upside. However, there's a reason a lot of her matches were taped. That's why. Gotta maximize that in the best way possible, in the safest way possible. What do you think the odds are of Athena challenging for the TBS championship? I mean, I know if she's still ROH champion, I think it's possible, but I don't think they want to beat her while she is ROH women's champion. I mean, she is coming up on 1 year as the ROH women's champion. And that would be, that'd be incredible. That'd be awesome. Let me see who the longest reign was. I mean, yeah, in the previous ROH, the longest reigning was 251 days. Sumi Sakai. She's already the longest reigning, but she can hit a year as well. Willow beat her in the tournament, but that was kind of to set up her upcoming opponent. I don't think they want her to be viewed as lesser than, because they want to use that as a point to tout Ring of Honor TV. Who do you think gets the Raw NXT TV rights? Do you think they all end up under the NBCU, or do you think they'll switch partners? If I were a company like WWE or AEW, I'd be angling to get on FX, because I saw that list that Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics put out. A fantastic list, by the way, guys. If there were a few Patreons, I would say you should subscribe to. It's WrestleNomics, WrestleTix, and us. But FX at this point, which was not like a big premium channel 10, 15 years ago, is in more homes than almost anything except for like HGTV. So that's what I think, that they got a piece of it. Alex Fitzgerald says, I need to see a segment with Adam Cole, Adam Page, and Adam Copeland talking, and then Roderick Strong interrupts saying, Adam! I mean, why would Roderick Strong not try to recruit Sting and Adam Copeland into Next Strong? Right? Why would they not? I think it would make an awful lot of sense. So I think they should probably just do it. I'll tell you what you should do. Subscribe to NordVPN.com/Fightful. I've often talked about how much of a pay-per-view buyer I am. Take that any way you want it, but I'll tell you how I take it. NordVPN.com/Fightful. Fastest VPN on the planet, global server network, all that good stuff. That's great. But a big reason why I got NordVPN.com/Fightful is all the pay-per-views I buy, all the money we're spending. We're trying to control costs as a company, as a household. You can get those UFC pay-per-views at a fraction of the price you're paying here in America. Plus, you can get all kinds of great content that you wouldn't normally see thanks to those services as well. Shows that are on overseas services, things that you want to watch a little bit early so you get on that UK time and watch them. Being able to change the interfaces of things like the WWE Network. Maybe you don't like Peacock, anything like that. NordVPN.com/Fightful gives you that ability while having the fastest VPN on the planet. Also, you just get so much more out of your internet experience with NordVPN.com/Fightful. Subscribe to Fight and AEW Plus. Watch AEW without commercials. Watch bare knuckle boxing. Watch UFC pay-per-views, boxing pay-per-views at the rates they're getting over in the UK. Change your virtual location with just one click. And hey, if you need any help using it, they got that 24/7 tech support. NordVPN.com/Fightful. NordVPN.com/Fightful. Truly appreciate those guys. Sincerely, they have been our biggest sponsor for the last year plus, and really hoping to continue working with them in 2024. So hit them up on Twitter. Let them know where you heard about them. Even if you don't use NordVPN, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would tweet NordVPN and be like, hey, heard from you here. Do you reckon Edge's last match will be with AEW? I think a lot of that depends on where Christian is. I think Christian and Edge will have their last matches together. Do you see WWE working with Noah? I do. I think that's going to happen in some capacity, probably not a significant capacity. Like, I don't know if WWE would have a great interest in using a ton of their talent, like on regular thing, like NXT, perhaps. That could give you that aura of like black and gold. But I think that we'll see some crossover there. TK mentioned they are Glassdoor Gamer says TK mentioned they are more well organized lately, and it's showing in the product. Is that due to Jimmy Jacobs and the rest of creative? They did bring in Kevin Matthews. They brought in Will Washington. They brought in Jimmy Jacobs. They brought in a lot of people to help streamline things. And from what I understand, they are looking to do have more producers come in and do some work. So I don't want to necessarily give Jimmy Jacobs all the credit, but I hear nothing but wonderful things about Jimmy Jacobs. And I can tell you from experience, the one time I interviewed him, it was like a Rubik's Cube unlocked in my brain. Like he's a goddamn brilliant dude, man. Like he's got like there are things that he said during that interview that I was like, shit, this guy on another level gets it. And that was just me hearing him. Like, I can't imagine working with him every day. But, yeah, I mean, they've made a lot of efforts to do that. I think they need to hire some marketing and live event people, too, though. Oh, we read that one. Tyler says, subtle things said the mic caught Christian versus Darby. I don't know what you mean here, Tyler, but I didn't necessarily catch anything. Amber, our good friend, good to see you back, says, what's the plan for Cora Jade? Now with Jade Cargill and WWE, generation of Jade isn't going to work anymore. Thanks, SRS. Yeah, from what I understand, Jade Cargill is likely to continue using her name and so on and so forth. But Cora's had some time off. Not going to say why, but she's had a little bit of time off. They've got some time to think about it and retool it and work it. She could just be Cora. I think that Cora would work just fine. Or do like a rebranding of her as well. But they'll have something for her. They like her a lot. Fuzzy Wuzzy said Muta says he thinks WWE and Noah could work together in the future. How likely do you think this is? I think it's very likely. Again, I think that WWE will likely send some people over to Noah. Like, I think a Mustafa Ali being sent over to Noah would have been kind of cool for a one-off. But also, I think that sending a guy like Omos over there to get some reps in and get some work in when he's not on TV makes a lot of sense. They would have loved Johnny Gargano over there in Noah. And also Noah sending people over for NXT or, to be partners with people in certain matches on WWE shows would work out very well too. Mr. CJ Lilly says, if House of Black all comes to WWE at some point, House of Black versus Judgment Day could be a great feud. We can get Buddy versus Dom for Rhea last. Dark Alexa versus Julia Hart would be fire. I would imagine that by the time that was even a possibility, that both groups will be long gone years after. I don't think that would be even possible until like 2027, 2028. Could Noah partner with WWE due to the ABE and ATL? Yes, they could. They could. I love all the questions we're getting about this, though. And also, don't forget Scott Edwards, Scotty Wrestling on Twitter does a lot of incredible work there. A lot of incredible work on the Japanese wrestling side of things. Odds we see Mariah May in AEW. Some expectations people have for her unrealistic, but she'd be a great addition and boost. I'm going to say 50-50 because I think WWE might swoop in and try to get her as well. But I know that AEW was certainly interested in her. Certainly. Alex Fitzgerald. We just read that one. Mr. CJ Lilly says, I hope that Alexa comes back as a heel. Still like Sasha did with Natalya, all smiles, then lamps the person she just saved. Wouldn't mind a trio with Isla and Alba to take down Damage Control. Yeah, it'll take a little while. I mean, Dakota probably won't be healthy for a while. I'm glad they still had her on TV. I think that's good because I think far too often it's out of sight, out of mind for people in WWE. And Dakota is very useful, even though she can't do anything from a physical standpoint. But I think that they could put Piper with them as well, to like after the Chelsea team, and sort of make that a thing. I mean, funny enough, Damage Control told me they wanted to add Piper as well. So she's in demand. Feels like the SmackDown division needs a jolt. Been revolving around the same 6 people since the draft. Do you think we see any call-ups? I think there's a lot of people that could be called up. I think JC Jane, Gigi Dolan, Wendy Chu when she's healthy, Tiffany Stratton, all could get called up at any given time, among others. Alan Mark says, how about an updated injury report? I checked the website and the last update was August. That is not accurate, Alan. We update that every single week. We just don't update the authored date on that. So the injury report is getting updated every single day. Every single day. Speaking of 2024, any news on, and also he says, thanks to Nord. So speaking of 2024, any news on MJF's contract? There is nobody that can confirm that he has signed a new deal. I believe he has. But he will not tell anybody that he has, and nobody has seen for sure that he has. Now WWE is trying to load up next week. Do you think Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman is going to be worked into a longer angle? I think it could be. And I think that is certainly somebody you want Braun Breaker working with if he moves in the main roster, and someone he can either succeed with or break away from. Do you think Billy Starks is going to be the one to beat Athena? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. And I think they're building it appropriately. Some of the angles are a little corny for my liking, but it works for them. It really, really works for them. And they're over as a result of it. Not even just as a result of it, but there you go. Mr. CJ Lilly says, seems like Tegan being built like a last kicker, Becky, was too trusting of vets needing to stand up for herself like Becky. Well, I think it was her having manners and then Natalya showing some respect for her. I think that's what that was. And I think it worked out pretty well, all things considered. Guys, also, please leave a thumbs up on this video. We greatly appreciate that. Let me scroll through here, make sure I'm getting all of these. Anyway, Kenneth Smith, thank you so much. Great seeing you. Always great to hear from you, of course. Nicholas says, the WWE and AEW hold a PLE together. Do you think it'd be a Forbidden Door or under a new name? It'd be under a completely different name. Forbidden Door is AEW's. They would do something collaborative if they ever did, and it would be the biggest wrestling pay-per-view of all time, bar none, not even close. Kurt Benoit says, what role do you see Roman playing after he loses the title? Do you think he'll ever work full-time again? Any Irish in you? You say arse a lot. I don't say arse a lot. Maybe arsed. Arsed, maybe. Can't be arsed too, but no Irish in me. My grandmother's Native American. That's about the extent. Otherwise, outside of that, I'm Appalachian mutt. That's about it. But I see Roman. I don't see Roman going full time again, but he'll probably feud with individual members of the bloodline. Chance AEW drops AAA for CMLL. I think that's slim to none. I think they're happy doing what they're doing, and they feel the pool is probably better in AAA. Who could AEW poach to recreate the Punk magic? Vice versa for WWE with Cody. MJF excluded. What impact has covering free agency had on Fightful? It's significant. I think that we cover contracts, free agency, and the like better than anybody in the history of pro wrestling. And I say that sincerely. The history of pro wrestling. I would say that about 85 to 90% of the contract news that has emerged at a high level in pro wrestling over the last 3 or 4 years has been from Fightful. CM Punk coming back, Cody Rhodes leaving AEW, Jade Cargill leaving AEW, Edge right before his last match, we had put out there that AEW people are expecting him to come over there. And that, not even just that, like any number of people. And unfortunately, on the release side as well. That's not something I'm happy about, but I think we do that incredibly well. I think next year, Becky would be the biggest one. Becky is transformative. On the WWE side, Ricky Starks could have an impact. It just wouldn't be like Cody, because Cody was already a top star. Will we see Matt Riddle anywhere in the future? Yeah, I think PFL will try to get him to fight, or Bellator. And I think that like a place like MLW will probably give him a shot. Think we'll see Kyrie or Orton soon. I'd imagine we'll see both of them pretty soon. I think so. It would make a lot of sense to me. Brutality says, "What's up, Shawnee boy? Missed ya." Firstly, Roman on NXT next week. I don't think so. I think if Roman was going to be on NXT next week, they would promote it. I think if they would scream that from the rooftops, brother. What do we think about the Jimmy story? I feel as if it's been really confusing. Boy, that's a tale of two stories, right? That Jey Uso one on Raw, I think, kicks ass. And then the one for Jimmy just makes him just look like, oh, he's so desperate. He's so desperate. Sorry about that. I got muted somehow. Don't know how I got muted, but go figure. But anyway, this story wasn't for me. I think it minimized Jey Uso or Jimmy Uso a lot, and Jey Uso is doing really, really well. Let me know in the chat if my audio is back working. I don't know why it got muted. Thoughts on Chelsea Maxine or a Tiffany pairing? I don't see that. I don't see Chelsea and Maxine. I could see Chelsea and Tiffany okay, but I think Tiffany's going to stand on her own. Chelsea will be that person that can work with anybody, but I think her and Deonna should do a thing whenever Deonna is a free agent, if WWE can pick her up. Top 3 on Doja's Scarlet. Wet Vagina has a great song. Paint the Town Red. I know it's an easy answer, but it is an easy answer. It's one of the best songs she's ever done, and Shutcho is good too. Also, Demons has grown on me an awful lot. Who does TK throw the bag at in 2024? Gotta be Becky Lynch. Gotta be Becky. Tristis says, do you think that free agent talent have priorities that make them more likely to choose WWE or AEW? Like a person with a blank priority, more likely to pick WWE or vice versa. Does that make sense? Yes. This is what I try to tell everybody, especially people on our teams that are on podcasts or talking heads. Nobody knows my motivations. I can tell you guys, I have been made like 3 or 4 offers in which are higher than what I've ever made at Fightful. And I also have the ability to tell everybody to piss off, start a Patreon and a YouTube of my own, make 2, 3, 4 times as much, and say screw everybody else. I don't want that. My motivation is growing this, being happy, doing good work, and allowing other people a platform. In wrestling, you have creative, you have money, you have schedule, you have I don't want to be around this person. You have I do want to be around this person. You have an awful lot of stuff, awful lot of motivations, lots of it. AEW's used to be, well, that schedule looks awful nice. Well, now not so much, because you've got the Wednesday show and the Saturday show and an expanded pay-per-view schedule. So yes, there are definitely priorities there. Would WWE Network originals ever return, or all documentary formats will be produced by Peacock? I missed WWE 24. Peacock originals are not available overseas. So this ultimately and always comes down to, can they sell the rights to it? So what WWE realized was, the DVD market is crashing. Nobody's buying these anymore. So what should we do? So they made them on Peacock, and they do like what we do on Fightful Select. In reality, I know that most of you are subscribing for the news, but every so often I'm like, well, I can add this. I can dig up every article we've ever done for our magazine and put it on Select too. More value, less of a way for you to go, Sean isn't making it worth my while. They did that with the documentaries until they realized they could sell the rights to those to A&E to do biographies on, and then they can make money off the DVDs on that as well. So it's all about where the money goes and where it comes from. Where's Wardlow? He's been gone since Collision episode 3. Time off for an injury. I do not have the info on Wardlow. I am asking. I'm asking often. I'm asking every day. I have not heard of an injury. We're heading down the home stretch, my friend. Get your super chats. Get your humper chats in. Blind Wolf says, what title do you see Adam Copeland winning in AEW? Tag team or trios. Maybe even TNT. You kind of hinted at Roxanne turning heel last week. Can you elaborate, or you're just not able, or you're not able just yet? I felt like this week would be the catalyst for that. I can't really elaborate because I don't know for sure, but I can tell you it's been discussed, and last night could likely play into that. Izzy says, I think AEW's stalling momentum has to do with avoiding big feuds. 4 years in, and we've yet to have to see an MJF, Omega, or Hangman. Never got Punk Danielson, Jade Bryan, Mox Cody. Feuds draw like Punk MJF. Listen, I don't disagree with you there. I feel like they keep things in their back pocket a little bit too much. And if I were them, what I would do is uncork them. And then when those two top stars are battling each other, somebody underneath is going to develop. That's what happened with WWF in 98, 99, 2000. They're just like, let's throw all these guys at the wall. And hey, by the way, occasionally Edge and Christian will rub up against The Rock and Mankind, or Undertaker and Kane, or Kurt Angle. And then what happens? You get to a situation where 3 or 4 years later, Edge is the top guy in WWE, Christian's the top guy in TNA. There you go. I think they should absolutely uncork those more often. How long is Bayley under contract with for WWE? I don't have an answer for that. If you want answers to the ones that I know about, go to Fightful.com's resources section. You will go to Fightful.com, and there's a wrestling tab, and you just highlight that, scroll down, you click resources. We got a whole bunch of shit there. You know, if Rollins deals up at the same time as Becky, I'm working on that one. I know there's speculation, but I haven't heard if it's up the same time. What do you want to see Edge do at All In 2024? Well, I think they need to go towards him and Christian very soon, but I'd like to see him team with Christian. I'd love to see that. Him and Christian against somebody else. FTR or the Bucks. What match that's never happened would you like to see Adam Copeland have? Both opponent and any stipulation you want. Adam Copeland against Kenny Omega. Just a straight up wrestling match. No count out, no DQ. That's what I would like. Two of my favorite performers to watch ever. And I want to see Edge and Christian against some teams. I want to see him against the Young Bucks. I want to see him against FTR. I would love that. How do locations for events get decided for shows by AEW and WWE? AEW will hit up multiple locations in Ohio, but hit Indiana once a year. WWE hits up Indiana multiple times a year, but other places less than AEW. So for AEW, they'll plan that stuff out like a year ahead. WWE used to as well. Sometimes they will alter things based on things getting hot, like, for example, Montreal this year for Elimination Chamber. I know that AEW formerly used to optimize it to save money on logistics and travel and all that. They saved millions doing that last year. But a lot of it has to do with the logistics, whether or not they can easily travel to and from places. Also, where they anticipate things being hot and where they foresee some storyline stuff going. But I mean, for AEW right now, I think they got it planned out. JB says, do you know anything about Bianca Belair's contract? When did she last sign or when it's up? I do not have any information on that. I mean, she's taking time off right now, and I think that they're working on that TV show of hers too. But she is the top priority, and WWE will do everything that she can or they can to re-sign her. Much like with Bayley here. Any chance we get Bayley to AEW, when is the contract up? She's going to be another one that they likely prioritize. She's going to be one that they're like, shit, we got to throw everything at this. we gotta try everything we can to keep her because they don't want AEW getting a hold of Bayley. Tony Khan's recent tweet about TBS messing up. Yes, it was a TBS error last week because of some audio issues. It did not happen on the fight feed, especially if you subscribe to nordvpn.com/fightful and watch the fight feed. But that's what that was. Alex Silva says, SRS, don't know if you're a video game guy, but do you think a Roman title reign ends? Do you think 2K will do a showcase or story mode to dethrone him like they did the streak in the SmackDown versus Raw games? Even if they don't do it right after, Alex, they will at some point. This title reign will be the subject of documentaries and features and video game storylines and all that stuff. Like they're gonna maximize this to the best of their ability, and they already do. Like sometimes they'll put together compilation videos, but I would say with 90% certainty they will do that because I mean Roman Reigns is forever one of the most famous WWE wrestlers now, so they will definitely do that. Oh, okay. Somebody said another recent error. Yeah, TBS had listed Dynamite at like 4 p.m. or something. That was an error. Somebody sent that to me. Get your super chats. Get your humper chats in. We are about to wrap up. Please leave a thumbs up on this video. And again, if you like this format, I do a Q&A every single week on FightfulSelect.com. It's just $5 a month or $54 a year if you want to subscribe annually. And that's in addition to hundreds of exclusive news reports every single month. Right after this, on the list goes on, I'll be breaking news on Fightful Select about a couple of talent that are taking some time off. Yeah, he said he tweeted today about the DVR. Check it out. I know what you mean now. By the way, if I've missed your super chat or humper chat, let me know. Drop me a DM. Let me know. Copy it, paste it, etc., and we'll read it tonight. Meet Normus. Says, happy hump day, SRS. You've answered all my questions, so just showing some love. Meet forever. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate that. Are you going to watch Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory? Yeah, of course I am. Of course I am. We'll be covering that here. Yeah, they got some good stuff planned. JB says, if you can break a story on Bianca Belair's return date and plans before anyone else, I'll drop a 100 super chat on a show. I'm sure I will have that information. I mean, we got Raw and SmackDown plans and pay-per-view plans right before every show. We've been putting them out like right as the show goes on, but we got those on Fightful Select too. Guys, thank you all so much. We greatly appreciate it. And Bear Hudson, you said that your question... He says, your question was not answered. Okay, Bear, I'm going to look for yours right now, actually. I'm going to track it down. I'm going to see where the hell your super chat is. And I'm going to hang around because I see that you're a little upset about it. and listen, and while the audience waits, they can hear about how to get their penis hard. Hello. Do you have a limp penis? A difficulty getting it erect? Boy, do I have a product for you. BlueChew.com and the code FIGHTFUL will help fix that. Blue Chew has the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. But they work a lot faster because it's a chewable. It's also much more affordable. Use that promo code FIGHTFUL. Get your first shipment free. Just pay $5 shipping. One of the best parts, it's discreet. No awkward in-person doctor's visits. You don't have to go to the pharmacy. It's shipped straight to your door when approved by an online physician. You want to check this out. It will help you. It is a good product. It will make your sex life better. BlueChew.com and the code FIGHTFUL. Have you heard anything about CM Punk returning to WWE based on any conversations? Have you heard what percentage would you give that it happens? I will have a report on Fightful Select about this probably within the next week or so. But I have been talking about people. I'm not going to say it's an impossibility. I am certainly not going to say it's an impossibility. But there are going to have to be conversations that are had about this. Like they are going to have to talk to the appropriate people and make sure it doesn't cause issues within their locker room. I think it is very important that they do that. Percentage, I feel like I've said 50-50 in the past. I'll say 45%. And MB, I did answer your question. So do you think Edge would have his last match in AEW? I think he'll have his last match where Christian is. That's what I said. Lee says, any news on a possible Danhausen return from injury? The timetable isn't that far off, but he has adamantly stated he's still injured. He does not want to appear on TV injured. I know that. You think we'll get a final dance with Edge and Christian, Hardys and Team 3D? Don't know if the match would be good, but it'd be a big nostalgia hit. Based on what I saw at Impact 1000, I'm going to say no. Edge and Christian versus the Hardys? Yes, I do think that'll happen. Head over to FightfulSelect.com. Patrick Short says that we killed it this week. What was your thoughts on Netflix's The Wrestlers? I thought it was a fair, accurate representation of OVW, because what I didn't want was them to sit there and pretend like, oh, we build all these stars. We've been doing all this. OVW built stars when WWE had control of them, and they have not built stars since then. And I'm glad the documentary reflected that. Based on the people you talk to, how much is the chance that Braun Breaker will be called up soon? I think Braun Breaker is on the main roster by April of next year. That's what I think. If that's soon to you, I don't know. But I don't, or maybe Heyman's coming to get him. That would be cool. But I think it's by April. Thank you guys so much. Heading over to The List Goes On. We're out.